Good morning. I am Jackie Schaefer, and I am the founder and CEO of ClearBrief, an AI legal writing platform. I'm also a career litigator and in-house counsel. And I'm here to explain why robots are likely to take your jobs so that you can build NFTs in the metaverse. So that just established my street cred, at the beginning of this presentation. I know all those scary tech words. No, I'm very practical about AI and what it means for the legal profession. So let's go on a journey together to talk through what AI looks like right now and what it's going to look like when you come back to ClioCon, the 20th anniversary, right? In 10 years, how will your practice be changed by AI? And the very first thing that I want you to do is turn to the person next to you and introduce yourself and your practice area, or you can turn to the person behind you. And I want you to answer these questions. All right. So, at least we got to know that there are humans in the room before we all, become AI bots. So that was a happy human moment for us. So I'm going to ask you all, we're going to go through these. All right. Which of these is AI currently doing today? Is AI serving as a judge? Please raise your hand if you think that that's happening right now. Is AI serving as a judge? All right, we see a lot of hands in there. You are correct. AI is currently serving as a judge in China. So in China, they have an AI judge that presides over the internet court. It's a real thing. It's not just like our bad experiences on Twitter. That is where these certain types of disputes related to copyright, trademark, it's almost like a wizard experience, it sounds like, where the parties kind of like enter, they answer different questions, and then the AI, judge comes to a decision. It's resolved more than 3.1 million cases, and people seem pretty happy actually with the results. So I'm actually waiting for the parent version of this where my kids can submit their disputes about like who got the bigger cookie. Like, tell it to the judge. Tell it to the bot. Okay. Now, is AI currently serving as an expert witness? Raise your hand. Wow. Okay, so we have a lot of hands up. To my knowledge, no, it's not yet. Although I guess, we can debate this in that there's certainly AI being presented as evidence, but I haven't come across AI actually serving as an expert witness yet. But it could happen. All right. What about this question of drawing police sketches based on descriptions of a suspect? Is AI currently being used to do that? Yes or no? Good. There's a lot of hands. Yep. So interestingly, the AI does exist to do this. There's a paper published in 2020 that tested a tool to leverage a neural network that maps realistic images and sketches onto descriptions that people had of from the witnesses' recollection. So I don't know of it currently being used in police stations, but it could be coming to a police station near you. I didn't focus a ton in this presentation actually on images and how images are being used, but there's so many interesting applications of AI right now that are happening with images. All right. Now, is AI currently stopping divorcing parents from sending rude texts? Is that a real thing? Is that a real thing? And should it be a real thing? So a smaller number of hands, that is a real thing. And it's there's a couple of apps. This one is really popular, Our Family Wizard. I know a lot of family law practitioners that love this one, but it stops divorced parents by it flags the sentiment in the texts so that it's like, do you really want to say that? That helps, people moderate their own behavior. And there's another one actually called Co-Parenter. that has a similar feature, but when it picks up on a message that sounds hostile, it will actually prompt you to go to mediation immediately from the text. So it's really fascinating how this is being used. I am waiting for the automation with Alexa or Google Home, so it can run during Thanksgiving dinner to turn on automatically. No, Uncle Kenny, it sounds like you're about to start a political discussion. Please moderate yourself. AI, it's here to help. Okay, now, is AI currently able to highlight a brief and tell you where opposing counsel is lying about the facts? Can AI do that today? Yes. Okay. So this is my company, ClearBrief. One of the features that it has is that you can upload, open in Microsoft Word, opposing counsel's brief, right? Convert their PDF to a Word doc. And then you can drag in like the discovery, the exhibits into ClearBrief, and it will flag for you. The AI actually, you can sort of see it up here. It'll give a score that compares their sentence to the piece of evidence they cited so that you can quickly see, they're totally lying. Like the transcript never had that information in it. They're totally, bullshitting the judge about that. So it's just helping you kind of get to those realizations quicker. And we'll talk more about ClearBrief and other AI products that are currently in the market. Okay, so that was pretty interesting. Some of you, there were a lot of strong feelings about AI, what it currently does. So much of the world we're living in right now can feel sort of like science fiction, that we can't believe that the tech actually exists to do these things. And so the question that I wanted to focus on a little bit is, why should I care if there's so much futuristic stuff that we see in the news every day? Why is it important now to start actually caring about AI and figuring out what it means, and why you should explore using it in your practice? So the first reason is because you will simply win more with AI, and your practice will be more successful if you start using AI and other forms of automation. It will help you grow your revenue. And like any good tech founder, I have to bring my data to back this up. And actually, so there's a couple of really great sources out there. The first one was last year's Legal Trends report. The new one wasn't out in time for me to incorporate it here, but it very clearly found, and Clio has excellent data, right? That tech-centric firms are just getting way more revenue per lawyer. And using some technology is good, but the firms that really did better financially were using multiple technologies. Also, the Walter Kluwer report found similar, that technology leaders are way more profitable, and that again, it's about not just feeling like, okay, I did my one yearly effort towards incorporating technology into my practice. This is not the time to slow down. This is the time to really pick up your focus on automation. And all right, this one, clients are increasingly demanding that you won't bill them for low value tasks. And it's interesting, at ClioCon, I've had this conversation a few times with different lawyers who have brought up this idea that, I'm interested in AI, but the billable hour, I'm scared to, let go of that. It's going to happen because your clients can't afford to pay your hourly rate for you to do low value work. You need to find a way to get somebody else. It could be a non-lawyer team member who could leverage AI. You'll have to figure it out. But in that Walter Kluwer's report, the vast majority of legal departments, and it was 91%, said that it will be important in the next 3 years to have a law firm that fully leverages technology. And by 2025, that's just a few years away, 97% will require the law firms that they hire to tell them how they're using tech to be more efficient. So this is actually you have to start figuring this out and putting this into your pitches to clients, especially those corporate clients. They just are demanding this. And All right, why else should we care about AI? Firms that don't leverage tech are just going to struggle to grow a team. And we're all here at ClioCon so that we can grow our business and figure out how to build this profitable and sustainable business. And it's recruiting team members is just going to get harder and harder if you don't have AI at your firm, if you don't embrace that. And again, these reports were saying, the data says that 83% of law firm lawyers say it's extremely or very important to them to work for a firm that leverages technology. And you won't be able to compete with the firm down the block if you're telling, you're the new associate you want to hire, you have to do my table of authorities by hand. You need to sift through 20 binders of paper documents. Like, it's just not going to work anymore. We've scraped by with the old ways, and people will go work for your competitor. And then the last shiny reason why we need to care about AI is because opposing counsel is using it. And you do not want to get caught at trial being the one who did not, try to do any kind of insights on your, your transcripts, your evidence, your data, and opposing counsel is coming for you. And, look, this is pretty funny. When I've talked with a lot of people, a lot of small firm owners, they tell me that one of the reasons that they're trying to be an early adopter of AI is because it intimidates the crap out of opposing counsel. When they see that you've sent them a document, a clear brief document, and then they immediately think, oh my God, they have robots. It's absolutely terrifying. So, just know that they're going to use it, and so you need to use it too. Okay, so we tested our knowledge of what AI is currently out there. We talked through why we need to care and why we need to become experts. And I want to talk a bit about what are some products out there that currently exist that are using AI. And we're using a pretty loose definition of AI, which is automation that resembles human intelligence. And so the first one I wanted to talk about is Trellis. And Trellis is, I'm focusing actually on women-led companies. Woo woo. There's a lot of amazing AI out there. So I wanted to just bring a few examples of what I'm seeing really add value for firms. So Trellis just won Startup of the Year at this year's American Legal Technology Awards. And what they do is they help you understand the value of your case. And they're leveraging state data that was kind of previously locked up or difficult to access, where, you're, the old way is to sort of go around the office and be like, have you been in front of Judge Smith before? And just hope that they remember, and people are like, yeah, she's good. It's like, okay, good, thanks. So this is helping you actually understand, all right, how long does it take, to move forward with this type of case before Judge Smith? That's actually like real concrete knowledge that you can bring to your client, because clients, just like the court, they want to see what evidence you have to back up your recommendation. It makes you look more polished and like there's some substance to what you're saying. So if you can tell them, well, this judge, typically this is how long it takes, we may want to consider settlement now, versus in 6 months, real actionable insights. So that's one way that AI is being used right now. Another amazing women-led company, Documate. So this is AI for creating client-facing legal products. And this is, focusing on the definition of AI as sort of helping with, human-seeming tasks. It's almost like you have a paralegal helping you get those initial versions of documents started. So with Documate, you can set up templates, and then when the request for some work product comes in, it's just a few clicks to get those documents reflecting all of the nuances of your legal advice. So it's a super handy way. I believe they do also integrate with Clio. All right, and ClearBrief. So ClearBrief's AI, you can sort of see here in this GIF the way that it works. It's in Microsoft Word, and you start off by uploading your factual documents, your exhibits, your deposition testimony, and then as you start to write your brief, you can say something. Here, the example is, the governor denied saying he would date anyone over 22. Using the Governor Cuomo documents here as an example, you can select that sentence and the AI will suggest for you all of the pages from the discovery that relate to the concept of dating, of the governor saying sketchy things, former governor. So, it just helps you find the evidence faster. Our AI also instantly does a table of authorities, which is a super, low level task that unfortunately sucks away. It could suck an entire day out of people's schedule right before they file. But I wanted to actually ask a question that kind of highlights something that I think about a lot as an AI founder, which is, is AI going to write the brief for me? So I want to ask you the question, let's say there's an exact quote, right? About, the governor denied saying he would date anyone over 22. And that exact quote is showing up in a transcript of former Governor Cuomo making that statement or something equivalent to that. There's also a court order describing that statement. And there's also the Attorney General's report that has that statement in it. What are some of the strategic reasons that you might cite to one of those different documents? Impeachment. Exactly. Can you say more about impeachment?
At deposition, you will want to ask him if he was telling the truth at each of these instances that you don't cite to confirm that he either is lying now or was lying then.
Exactly. So at the deposition, you're going to want to impeach the witness and show the witness those different examples of things that he said, right? And so can you think of an example, though, of why you might want to cite to the court order instead of the transcript? It's a finding of the court. And what is that? How does that get to your strategy in a certain situation? Collateral estoppel. Say more about that. Perfect. So I don't know if you heard all that, but essentially the evidence that you want to highlight is that, this was a finding by the court in another context. And so he's collaterally estopped from, denying this in a future case or something like that. So these are all human analytical decisions that we're making, right? So the AI is great at finding that needle in the haystack from, there's 500,000 pages of discovery, but the AI doesn't know why that's important to the story you want to tell. So that is always going to be our fundamental power, over the AI and where AI is today, and honestly, where it is in the next, 10 years, that you are the one in court. You're the one who sees the faces of the jury, and you know what evidence is going to persuade them, and you know how to respond in the moment and, really tell the story that wins your case. So that's one of the things that I like to emphasize, that we don't need to fear AI. We don't need to fear it in our practice. It can't, it can't write the brief for us in this nuanced way that's going to win the case. What it can do is just pull up the document instantly, so we don't have to waste time looking through different PDFs. Okay, and one of the most interesting current applications of AI in the profession is AI for finding the cutest avatar for court appearances. This is the present day, the state of AI. We will all, no, I just had to remind everybody of Zoomcat, because that was the single greatest day of the pandemic. But who knows? Actually, I was invited to the, I believe it was a 2021 ABA Tech Show. They invited me to present a panel on avatars. And I was like, I have no idea what that's about, but sure, I'll do it. And I switched the topic actually, because I don't think anyone really knew what that meant, but it was prescient because, Zoom cat. Okay. The future. All right. So let's talk about AI in the future. How is it going to change the way we work? So I'm going to tell you my predictions, and I want to talk about them. I'm going to leave some time for questions so that we can, you can challenge me on my predictions here. But I believe that AI analysis is likely to become the norm in preparing for court. So some of the other products I didn't really talk about that are starting to be developed are things like AI for analyzing the facial expressions of jurors, AI for analyzing your own preparation for oral argument. There, of course, AI like ClearBrief that's analyzing your pleadings before you file them, analyzing opposing counsel's pleadings after they file them. I think this is going to become the norm in litigation, and it's going to be a key part of your strategy that when you have a sophisticated client, they will want to know how you're leveraging this technology. So I definitely see this becoming absolutely ubiquitous in the next 10 years. The next prediction that I want to make, write down your, concerns, questions, disagreements too, because I want to ask your opinion. So I believe that law firm roles are going to start to shift. I was on a panel last week actually at Ford Motors, and super interesting, one of the other panelists was saying that he thought with the advent of AI that paralegals, that the entire profession was going to disappear. I do not believe that to be true. I think what's going to happen, and actually, if you look, there's a law firm, a couple weeks ago, the ABA had an article about a law firm that laid off, a dozen paralegals, and everybody was freaking out. But what they did was they said, we're actually shuffling around. The paralegals who were the most tech savvy, they are staying and they're going to take on different roles. The ones who were not, they were the ones who were let go. And so I really think that's what we're going to see is that paralegals are going to become, they tend to be newer to the profession. They're digital natives. They can help us all in adopting technology. Many states now have an ethical duty to understand technology. So they can be your, right-hand person in figuring this all out and actually implementing it. So I see that the roles are going to change. They're going to become more tech focused, and they're going to spend less time actually doing these, tedious things and spending, 8 hours on, site checking. And it's going to be instead, they're going to, spend an hour using an AI tool to help them get through that quicker. And the other prediction that I have, which also goes to my point about why we need to start caring now if we want to be the best lawyers, is that I think there's going to be more litigation about the role of AI. And if you want to be able to issue spot, you have to understand AI better. Because I'll give you, one example. There was a case, it was actually brought in 2017 by the ACLU in Idaho, where the ACLU noticed that the plaintiffs had been, suddenly their benefits had changed that the state was giving them. And there was no explanation as to why the benefits had changed. And the ACLU thought to raise the issue of like, well, are you using some kind of algorithm? Like why did this happen to my client? And they found during discovery, oh, yes, they were using an algorithm. And well, can you please disclose like what the factors went in, like how did it reach these new benefit calculations? And the state said, oh, it's a black box. Sorry, we can't tell you. And they were like, you have to actually tell us. And ultimately, they were ordered to kind of dig into it, and they found that, whoops, there were just some kind of errors with the AI and that they used, the algorithm that they used to calculate those benefits. And a whole, thousands of people lost vital benefits. And so it's that kind of issue spotting where if you do ever, handle cases where you're going up against the government or corporations or who knows, but there are algorithms at play, it may impact the legal theories in your case. All right, my very last prediction that I'm going to talk about is around courts. And I see we have, a tech-forward judge in the audience. And I think that courts embracing technology is what's really going to move the needle, finally, for the legal profession. Because that's where the buck stops with all of us, is if the court is ordering you to do something, like something simple, like send them a hyperlinked brief, you're going to do it. And you're going to figure out the tech. And actually, it turns out that's making it easier for every single person who's in the system. But, the profession is resistant until the courts order that. We're slow to actually invest and embrace change. So we saw during the pandemic that there has been this seismic shift in courts and how they have agreed to do, remote hearings. They use Zoom. Many courts across the country weren't doing e-filing before the pandemic. And we're seeing that becoming a requirement. The people from Alaska are laughing a little bit. So yes, it's a slow shift, but it is happening. And for example, ClearBrief, we actually have entire court systems that are using ClearBrief to write their opinions and to analyze, the briefs that they get, and they're using AI. We have 80-year-old judges, using our technology. It's amazing. By the way, they're helped by their clerks in many cases. And so we're all in this together and trying to, learn about this new normal. Okay, so I'm gonna pause there and I wanna ask if there are questions that you have. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, hold on. We have a mic. Who is it?
Can you talk about how the Turing test plays into this? Because especially when you're talking about calling and identifying lies by opposing parties, if it can't pick up on human subtlety and pass the Turing test, that would seem to be a major limitation, specifically in that issue.
Yeah, so the Turing test is kind of like what was traditionally used to determine whether an AI truly understands something in human language. So that's a great point. I think you're calling out that when AI products are saying that the AI can understand something, we're using marketing language to some extent because no, I do not believe AI is sentient in any way, and it's nowhere. People who build AI products, we know, it's not, it's not going to take over the world anytime soon. Although, by the way, there is an interesting competition being held right now where you could win, I think it's millions of dollars if you write about what are the best approaches to avoiding, a cataclysmic outcome or something with AI. But no, so when we say that the AI understands, what we're talking about is different forms of natural language processing in the case of ClearBrief. So for example, we hold 3 patents and counting at ClearBrief in the AI space, which is awesome. But one of our patents involves a semantic similarity analysis. So when you're saying that the AI understands, it's really that the AI is looking at your sentence that you wrote and looking at the pattern of your language and then looking at the source documents and saying, oh, this pattern looks similar. Even though the governor didn't say, I want to, we'll only date people over 22, there's a document where the governor said, I like to date, younger women. And the AI understands those kind of synonyms and sort of recognizes the patterns, but it doesn't have what we would consider, the kind of knowledge that would pass the Turing test. But good question. Yeah.
Thank you. I have 2 questions. The first one is about the sarcasm. How could AI detect sarcasm, if it's possible? And maybe I'll let you answer that before.
Yeah, how can AI detect sarcasm? Okay, so there's all different AI products that are based on different types of technology. So, for example, the one we talked about of the example with My Family Wizard, right? With the detecting the text messages and knowing that they're hostile. Like, have a great day. Like, please don't send that. Like, I don't know. So how can it know? So that's a type of AI that's focused on like sentiment analysis. And so again, it's a type of algorithm basically that's been trained to recognize, and with algorithms, you can sort of tune them and set different levels to the algorithms. So it's been trained to understand hostile language, and the patterns, indicate that maybe from the context, it's obvious that that language was being sarcastic. But so I would say it has to do with how it was trained, but it may not work perfectly with sarcasm. And so that's just something to be aware of. Again, it's like perfect example of being able to issue spot when, let's say, you're objecting to something like being construed as sarcasm, and because the AI flagged it, to know how to challenge that and say, well, I want to understand, how was this AI trained? Like, what was the AI based on? And, you should be able to pursue that line of questioning.
We're out of time. Do you want to take one more?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
If there's one more question.
Hi, so I just want to start by saying I love technology. I'm not a Luddite, but I do have a question. How should law firms balance the use of AI, considering this is not a mark against you or anything, but how should law firms consider using AI, considering that AI is only as good as the people who made the algorithms?
Yeah, that's interesting. So that's really about choosing your products wisely. So I just can speak to, as a founder, I knew that, and by the way, I got asked by a lot of like venture capitalists, so when are you going to get the product to a point where it can replace lawyers? I was like, no, like that's not a thing. You obviously don't understand what lawyers do. So I built ClearBrief so that, again, kind of like what I was saying earlier, it's surfacing relevant insights, but it's up to you to make use of them and to know how they fit into your strategy of your case. So it's actually about user instruction to know the limitations of the tools that you're using. That I'm not going to go into this thinking that this is going to just write my whole brief for me. You still have to know what you want to say. And just go into it with a healthy degree of skepticism, but be open, because then, what we're seeing is that people really are delighted that, over time, as they learn how to use these tools in the context of their own work, they're able to really save tons of time and, be less stressed. But it's not something that they're putting all of their eggs in the AI basket, if that makes sense. And the most important thing I wanted to end on this note to remember is that we need to be human to each other. And as someone who believes so much in the benefits of AI, I know that people come to us as lawyers because they're stressed and they're scared, and they want a human to talk to them and, help them feel like there's a path forward. So AI is there to help us, to be efficient and effective, so we can spend our time, being human with our clients, with the court, and achieving the best outcomes for everybody. So thank you so much. I would love to meet you all afterwards. Thank you.